world was calm. Every kingdom lived with its own rhythm. In the city streets, markets awoke at dawn. Hawkers shouted, children laughed and ran towards school, and the hammer rang in iron forges, beating like the heart of time. Villages moved in their own melody. The scent of soil rose from the fields, mixing with the sweat of farmers. Women carried water from wells. Children forgot themselves by the pond, playing with mud toys. At dusk, elders told stories on wooden cots, while oil lamps glowed, softening the night's darkness. In the mountains, people journeyed with their animals. By the riverside, fishermen cast their nets, and when the wind grew strong, songs carried far into the distance. Everything felt so normal, so ordinary, as if the world would always move with this peace, as if darkness itself had never touched this earth. But peace always lasts only a blink. And then, everything changed. It began with strange signs. Dogs barked without reason. Oxen broke their ropes and fled. Crows lifted all at once, circling before the moon. People thought it was only the season's trick, but that night, the wind stopped completely. And in that silence, the walls began to tremble. First, in a small settlement, the lamps cast long shadows, and the shadows did not stay still. They began to move. A woman rubbed her eyes, thinking it a trick. But then, from inside the wall, a hand appeared, black, thin, colder than ice. It gripped a man's throat and drank his blood. His eyes went lifeless in an instant, and as he fell, thousands of hands emerged from other walls. In the city markets, shadows dragged merchants away. By the rivers, fishermen were pulled under by black forms rising from the water. In the mountain temples, worshippers had their souls stolen by the shadows of stone walls. And then, they came. Shadows. They looked like humans, but were not. Eyes replaced by two burning red sparks. Bodies that swayed like smoke. Every step made the air colder. A child clung to his mother's dress and whispered, "Mother." And behind him, a shadow rose. Amid this chaos, there was one village, surrounded by greenery. A pond gleamed between fields. After a day's work, people sat in their yards telling stories. Children played in the dust. Women filled the air with the scent of fresh bread. That night too, the scene was the same. Children sang songs. Elders told old tales. Every corner glowed with simple reality. Peace lit the village, but peace always ends with the last breath. First came a cold gust of wind. The lamps flickered. The people froze. And then, the walls shifted. From those shadows, hands emerged. One seized a young man's wrist, pulling out his soul. A woman screamed, echoing down the streets. Another hand from another wall, then a third. And soon, the walls themselves seemed alive. From every door, darkness poured out. In every alley, a new shadow rose. Faces broke, songs turned to screams. And that once happy village became prey in a single moment. The night swallowed the entire village. Shadows were no longer limited to the walls. They rose in alleys, on rooftops, even by the pond. Every scream tangled in the air. And in the middle of this chaos stood a small hut. Inside, young Victor, only 7 years old, hid in his mother's arms. Her hands trembled. Tears fell from her eyes into Victor's hair. "Shh, nothing will happen, my son," she whispered, though her own voice was breaking. Victor clutched her scarf tightly, as if it was his last lifeline. "Mother, I'm scared." She tried to smile, but her eyes showed only fear. At the door stood his father, gripping an old wooden staff. His breath was heavy, eyes burning red. Every time a shadow tried to break in, he struck hard. One shadow scattered, but another rose instantly. "Elira, hurry!" he roared. Glancing at his wife, he said, "We must hide him, or it's over." His mother pulled open an old trapdoor in the corner. Beneath lay a cramped pit of wood and soil, tight but enough to survive. Victor's eyes widened. "I won't go. I'll fight with you." His father looked at him. There was no anger, only pain. "You're not ready to fight, son. Not yet." She pulled Victor close, voice trembling. "Son, remember, no matter what, you must live. You must become strong. One day, you will defeat these monsters." Victor sobbed uncontrollably. "No, I don't want to live without you." She wiped her tears, hugged him tight, kissed his forehead, then pushed him below. The trapdoor shut. Through its cracks, Victor looked up. Elira tied a cloth across the entrance, like a desperate shield of her life. His father was still fighting with the staff. Then a massive shadow entered. 2 glowing red eyes, 2 long arms. His father struck, but the shadow grew fiercer. "Elira, fall back!" his father shouted. But it was too late. The shadow grabbed him with both hands and slammed him to the ground. His roar broke into a final scream. "No!" Elira cried, just as another shadow attacked her from behind. Victor watched his mother vanish into darkness. Silence followed. Victor covered his ears, tears streaming, his small body shaking. Above him came only one sound, the cold laughter of a shadow. Then only darkness above the trapdoor. That night, his parents gave their lives for one reason alone, to keep their son breathing. Suddenly, Victor's eyes opened, his heart pounded, breath racing, forehead drenched in sweat. But he was no longer 7. He was 18 now, sitting alone in the cave's darkness. For years it had been the same. Endless meditation, endless training, and every night the same nightmare haunted him. He struck the cave wall with his hand. "Years have passed, yet your screams still follow me. I made a promise, and I will keep it." Taking a deep breath, he sat in the center of the cave, closed his eyes. Darkness grew deeper. Every memory pierced him like thorns. His mother's scream, his father's roar, all turned into fire. He steadied his breath. That pain was no longer just suffering. It became a burning heat. The silence of the cave pulsed with his heartbeat. And then another beat, faint but clear, as if another heart was inside him. Behind his closed eyes, he saw a light, black yet shining. In that glow stood his own shadow, darker, more alive. The cave's air grew violent, shadows rippling along the walls. In his chest formed an orb, transparent, yet throbbing like blood. This was his affinity core. For the first time, power surged within him. Victor's eyes lit up. "Now begins my fight." The cave walls trembled, and behind him, his own shadow rose, as if another Victor had come alive. The shadows have risen, but this is just the beginning. Will Victor survive the darkness? Don't miss episode 2. Subscribe now and join the fight against the darkness.